Good afternoon, everyone. Pretty amazing to learn about robotics, and if I'm honest, out on the ice expanses and together with a colleague that is not a robot, it's pretty wild to see that we still are little robots, because for efficiency's sake, we do eat the same thing every day. We do try to do a continuous accumulation of activities so that we become very efficient. So in that manner, I see very much what our world will become within the next 20 years. However, I am pretty sure that we have to ask ourselves that very important question: why are we doing what we are doing? And it's not an easy one. It's a classic. You look in the mirror and then you see yourself get shaved for a job, or you start changing the nappies of the kids, and then that question comes, why would I be doing that? And if you don't have an honest answer, then that's where you have a problem. If I would ask myself why I go out on these long-haul expeditions, it would not be a good sign. It would surely not be for the money, because we're still trying to pay our bills from the last one. If it were for the fame, then I would never refuse the many requests to go on reality TV and stuff. It needs to be a very intrinsic, honest answer. And therefore, it's good to just ask yourself, why am I on this planet? What am I doing with my short life? And then, unfortunately, I have some strong reactions to what's happening to our society that is increasingly comfortable, increasingly fun and warm. And yes, we have all of the remote controls and soon enough, unfortunately, the robots. But what does that mean? Are we going to become a lazy species? We're having the privilege of having 2 arms and legs, and we like to move because it generates a feeling of happiness when you're done walking or running or whatever you do. So I think there is a danger in just accepting what the norm is of our society. Let's reflect on a daily basis on what we should be doing. As you can see, yes, we conglomerate. We tend to feel good when many people are within reach, many people who have probably very creative ideas, but immediately there's a disconnect from nature that rules our lives still. Unfortunately, that's not what we think. We have all of our defense mechanisms, and we hide or we protect. It is a good thing to once in a while go to the woods or to the beach and ask yourself what the connection is between the two. That's what we do to a large degree. I have great creativity when I come back from polar expeditions. Nature tells us a couple of things that we should not disregard. Of course, there is always the question, yes, but do we belong there? Of course not. I'm not an Inuit. I am not even a scientist, but we do like to go there to place ourselves on this earth. And let us now look at a short video clip that may give you a better idea of my activities. you go. It's like the disco version of an expedition, but you must know that it is very serene and very calm in our tent. What I would like to talk about is, unfortunately, I will not have enough time to talk about the environment as being such a fragile environment for us. But what I would like to touch, though, is the subject of positioning each and every individual in the problematic environmental business, let's put it this way. There is soon enough an environmental awareness fatigue, and people are feeling the weight of what they must do. So instead of the pointing finger, I would like to invite everyone to think about our position and our responsibilities towards the future. Yes, I have seen rapid changes in my short career of 17 years out on the polar ice in the north. There is very little multi-year ice. That means that the ice is melting very rapidly and that the ice doesn't survive the summer. So if in my young age I can see differences that are being spread out over 20 years, you can count on the fact that yes, soon enough there will be problematic situations on the North Pole. I cannot confirm that for the Antarctic continent because it's a humongous ice mass. So we'll have to monitor that, and science will determine what the course of action will be in the future. What is more tangible is to touch people who have big companies under their belt. Many people who come to the polar regions are curious, want to know for themselves what's happening out there. And when I guide people on boats, when I give lectures, it's pretty amazing to see how they're influenceable when they see for themselves how fragile the environment is, how polar bears now not only swim away from the poles, but who will be mating with grizzly bears. Well, then there's a problem, and they really think about that. When then there's a kind invitation to act accordingly, you see changes. And it's really wild to see how we as individuals can influence other people. Leadership, therefore, is an important part of these expeditions. I am one individual, but as the back office, we have about a team of 120 people, all contributing, all trying to imagine what it is for one or two people, with some, for example, my colleague and expedition partner, what it means to feel the support of a back office. And you have to, therefore, trust. Trust is one of the main themes that can have people like these corporate leaders coming along on expeditions really feel at ease, comfortable in a very strange environment, a habitat that they're not used to. These people take decisions, strong decisions every day, but here they're out of their scope. They don't know what to do. And therefore, what as a leader out on the ice I have to do is instill trust. First of all, that requires a lot of preparation beforehand, because just dropping these people on the ice is not a good thing. So you have to prepare. What does that mean? It's a multi-year process of having these people understand the world that they'll be going to. Understand what cold is, what isolation means, what monotony is, what acting like a robot means. And so it takes a long time before you can feel at ease in a new habitat. It means that you will have people who are not just there to have been at the pole, but who will sniff up the saline environment of the poles. They will understand why animals are migrating, etc. Another short little clip on preparation. when you have managed to get your team as a leader to prepare fully and have all of that creativity overflow, and you are able to launch a new product or really go for a new era in your business doings, well, then out on the field there will be hurdles, and probably many. Doubt will instill itself. You will have situations like this where it seems like you cannot overcome some obstacles. Well, that takes a very specific mindset. You have to, first of all, believe that the project will come to a good end and will be successful. But even when the unovercomable seems to touch your motivation, you should not give up. That's just how we go about it. This seems like an invitation to fall in the water, but thanks to the preparation phase, we know that we can face these difficult situations because we know how to get ourselves out of the water and brush off the ice, especially when there's two at least. You can help each other. And the next phase would be continuing on a long, long journey of hopefully success. There's this one situation in '97 already where another expedition partner and myself, Alain Hubert, were faced with almost the impossible on day 33, if I remember well, and we were 250 kilometers into our expedition across Antarctica, when suddenly we saw and looked that the sled was totally broken, the skis had broken off. Our tent had also a problem. I had broken 2 ribs because the kite had pulled me up and dropped me down again. Alain had been the subject of a CO intoxication. Things were really not looking good. So having eaten 1/3 of our rations, 110-day expedition it was, and only having done 250 kilometers of the 4,000 we had to cover, one tends to let the shoulders hang a bit lower. Unfortunately, Alain and myself are not the kind that will start whine and call the home front and whine again. There's a mindset that asks you to just persevere, and that is exactly the definition of perseverance. Just not believing that you will fail. And that kept us going, and I believe on day 56 or so we were at the South Pole and continued to then conclude the 99-day ordeal or pleasurable hobby at McMurdo, the other end of Antarctica. This is another photo of where suddenly there's a wall of impossibility in front of you, and if you don't think beyond the obvious, which would be trying to climb the wall, first have a good look on what the rest of the terrain will offer. That's what we do on a regular basis, probably every 2-3 hours in this kind of terrain. And it helps because suddenly you'll see what the next few hours will offer, and you can start sniffing your way through all of these blocks and open water. But sometimes there is the impossibility. Sam and I have just returned, as you learned, and the beginning of our last expedition was pretty disastrous. We were dropped off in an area where these sastrugi, ice formations, just were a stop sign for our progress. We were only able to progress 4 kilometers a day, whereas we wanted to do 60 a day. So unfortunately, after 10 days, Sam and I decided this is not the way to do it. We have to think of a solution. And we were picked up again, we were dropped off at another spot, and were able to finish our expedition with success. So sometimes you have to dare to stop and renew your vows, if I may say so. Potential. Again, I'm grasping back to the beginning slide. If we are letting ourselves be invited into a too comfortable society, we will never, ever reach deep down inside and find our potential, because we'll just be giving in. So it's up to everyone to decide how far you will go, how deep you will search for that extra energy, but I can assure you that it works if you just persevere. Inspiration you can get anywhere. It can be from your dog, from your child, from your new car, or whatever it may be. But we are maybe not the perfect human being. We need to go and find inspiration. And that hopefully is what I have given you today. The tools that you use need to be studied, restudied, and it's something in our business where I'm pretty proud that we can be a bit of a pioneer. It's no good to imitate and do whatever your predecessors have done in the past and do it quicker. The whole goal of being a pioneer is invent, be creative, and go out on the ice and dare to walk the untrodden path. That's truly a pleasure, and it gives you great satisfaction. And I would like to conclude to thank you for the immense warmth that reigned here.